Good afternoon. Welcome to all of you who have joined us today to celebrate and thank Dr. Herman Berliner, our Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. Ideally, we would have liked to have done this in person, but was not possible given the pandemic. We're doing this virtually so that the Office of the Provost, together with all of you, have the opportunity to thank Herman for all that he has done over the years. While Herman is joining us from his office, we're also very pleased to have Annette Strader, Herman's spouse, and his family here with us virtually today. I'm sure that the family dogs Leo and Melly are very much there too, making their presence felt. We had many people who would have liked to speak, but knowing the constraints of virtual events, we have just a few representatives speaking today. Now, you all know Herman well, but we still just want to share some of what he has done over the years. Dr. Herman Berliner, Hofstra's University's Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, is one of the longest serving provosts in the United States. He first became provost in 1989 and served in that position for over 25 years until July 2015. He then returned to the provost office in January 1, 2019. In this role, Dr. Berliner is responsible for all the colleges, schools, and academic programs of the university, as well as the libraries, Hofstra University's Museum of Art, and Salzman Community Services Center. Over the years as provost, Dr. Berliner played a prominent role in establishing the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication, Hofstra University's Honors College, the Fred DeMatter School of Engineering and Applied Science, the School of Health, Professions and Human Services, and Hofstra's Northwell School of Nursing and Physician Assistant Studies. Dr. Berliner also played a pivotal role in establishing a dual degree program with Dongbei University of Finance and Economics in Dalian, China, where students earn both a Bachelor of Business Administration from Hofstra and a Bachelor of Economics from Dongbei. Dr. Berliner has held other key administrative positions, including serving twice as the Dean of the Frank G. Zaub School of Business. He was previously Associate Provost and Associate Dean of Faculties, Acting Dean of the School of Education, and Associate Dean of University Advisement. Dr. Berliner, the Lawrence Herbert Distinguished Professor, joined Hofstra in 1970 as an Assistant Professor of Economics, after having earned a PhD in economics from the City University of New York Graduate School. He was awarded tenure in 1975, promoted to associate professor in 1978, and to professor in 1985. As a faculty member, Dr. Berliner taught economics courses on both the graduate and undergraduate levels, and served on a number of doctoral dissertation committees for the School of Education. Dr. Berliner's area of specialty as an economist is the economics of higher education. He has served as a reviewer for Middle States Commission on Higher Education, the American Bar Association, ASCSP, and EFMD EQUIS. He serves as a TIA Institute Fellow and as a board member of the New 42. He's also former board member and president of the North Shore School District. He was included in the 2020 Long Island Business News Hall of Fame for his long-standing commitment to excellence. His latest publication, October 2020, is a commentary on higher education as part of TIA's Institute's Voice of Expertise and Experience series. Dr. Berliner and his spouse, Annette Strader, live in Glen Head with his two daughters, Isabel and Julia, and the family dogs, Leo and Melly. In addition to his family, Dr. Berliner's passions are dark chocolate, Broadway musicals, and swimming. And now it is my distinct pleasure and honor to invite President of Hofstra University, President Stuart Rabinowitz, to give his remarks.
Spanish is the second language.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It is my privilege to be able to say a few words about Dr. Berliner because he's not only been such a valued contributor to everything that Hofstra has accomplished, but he also is a good friend. And I won't be that long because I will have at least two other opportunities to talk about Herman. One, when we have commissioned a portrait of Dr. Berliner, which will be hung in, appropriately enough, Berliner Hall when it's done, and there will be a ceremony and then a reception, COVID permitting, following that. And I will have the honor of presenting Dr. Berliner with the Presidential Medal from Hofstra at one of our graduation ceremonies. So I'll be brief, and I will just say that Herman and I go back a long way. We actually went to college. We overlapped in college at the same time, but we didn't know each other at CCNY. And the reason for that is quite simple. He's older than I am. And so, so we didn't have classes together. The other reason is that Dr. Berliner spent all his time in the classroom and in the library studying at CCNY. And I spent all my time running the pool hall and the student center at CCNY. And that pretty well explains why Herman is the provost and I'm the president. I think that was a predictive moment. So Herman and I really got to know each other early on when I was associate dean of the law school and he was associate provost. And the fact that our principals, the then dean of the law school and then the provost, Sandy Hammer, got into a lot of arguments, led to a lot of communication between Herman and I, who never argued. And the law school did university business through my connections with Dr. Berliner. When I became dean of the law school, as you see, he became provost. And when I was lucky enough to be appointed president, he was the one person, among others, but one person I literally begged to stay on with me because of my admiration for him. So Maggie listed some things that Herman has done, and she might as well just have, contributed to. She might as well just have talked about everything that has happened at Hofstra in the last 20 to 30 years, because Herman has been a critical help and advisor and decision maker on our team on every major decision that has been made. And Herman has always brought to the table an unwavering commitment to academic integrity and academic excellence. And he also never seems to lose his temper, which distinguishes him from my inner circle and even me. So he was always a voice of reason, unflappable, loyal to Hofstra to the nth degree. And the university would be in a very different place than the very excellent place it is today without Herman's contributions. To Annette, I'm sorry I won't let him retire. He wanted to retire 4 years ago or 3 years ago, but I played the loyalty to Hofstra card. I admit it, because he was so badly needed. This time, Herman and I are walking out together this August, but we have promised to have lunch together at least once a month at a kosher restaurant we both like, and we may even invite Bernie Firestone, who was the former Dean of Arts and Sciences, who likes that restaurant. So to Herman, I want to just thank you for all the contributions you have made. You've made me look good on innumerable occasions, and all of us, past, present, and future Hofstra community members, owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude. Congratulations.
Very much.
I'm done.
All right. Thank you very much, President Rabinowitz. We now have the deans. Over the years, the deans of the schools and colleges have played a major leadership and collaborative role, working closely with the provost. On behalf of the deans, I now invite Dean Holly Syrup and Dean Warren Frazina to share their remarks. Holly, Warren.
Thank you, Maggie, and good afternoon. What a wonderful gathering of family, friends, and colleagues joining together to celebrate the contributions and years of service of Herman Berliner. I've had the opportunity to work with Herman since I first walked onto the Hofstra campus 39 years ago. I was just a child. But Herman was already an icon on campus. He arrived, as you heard, in 1970 as an assistant professor of economics. Hofstra was celebrating its 35th year anniversary. Clifford Lord was the president. The North Campus consisted of the Student Center, the Physical Fitness Center, 6 high-rise towers, creatively named towers A, B, C, D, E, F, and a building that was called the Mods. We had 4 schools at the time: Hofstra College Liberal Arts and Sciences, the School of Education, the Business School, and the Law School had just opened. Just imagine for a moment how much expansion and growth Herman has been part of, fiscally as well as academically. He has actively played a key role in the growth and development of the campus as we know it today. He is part of its very foundation. Herman is also known for his keen sense of humor and ability to look creatively at things from multiple perspectives. Who else would have been able to convince the Cultural Center that we needed to have a multi-day scholarly conference on the impact of chocolate? Still one of my favorites. And when Cliff and I were planning a trip to Hawaii, Herman and Annette immediately offered to meet us for dinner at Ben's to give us recommendations on where to stay, what to do, and where to eat. And many of you know Herman's love of Broadway. How appropriate that Broadway will be reopening as he begins his retirement. And in the words of Lin-Manuel Miranda's lyrics from Hamilton, history has its eyes on you, and has for the past 50 years. And what a wonderful legacy you're leaving. Your commitment, dedication, and service to education, and specifically the Hofstra community, has been an inspiration and an extraordinary testament to your belief in the value of academic excellence, both in and out of the classroom. Theodore Roosevelt wrote, "Far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing." Educating young people, leading and mentoring colleagues, and articulating and executing a clear vision can well be defined as work worth doing. And you certainly worked hard, taking the steps necessary to reach our collective goals. And you did it with enthusiasm, creativity, and style. Your leadership, dedication, and innovative spirit have made an indelible mark on Hofstra. You have been a mentor and role model to our faculty, students, and colleagues, and you will be greatly missed. On behalf of all the deans and our faculties, we extend our deepest thanks and appreciation for all your support and vision. We wish you and Annette many new beginnings, exotic travels, Broadway premieres, and exciting adventures. Congratulations on your retirement. And now I'll turn it over to Warren.
Thanks, Holly. Herman, this morning, in getting ready for this, I clicked through all 116 pages of congratulatory messages on the virtual card you're about to receive. The breadth of those who wrote illustrates how you've made better the lives of every Hofstra student, faculty member, staff person, and administrator during your terms as provost. That is quite a legacy. So instead of piling on more compliments, I want to speak now about how critical your role has been for those of us who serve as deans. We administrators are keenly aware of the fact that though universities may seem large and invulnerable, they are in many ways exceedingly fragile. To achieve greatness of the kind that Hofstra strives for, we've had to stretch this institution and ourselves every day. As a result, Hofstra has become an astonishingly complex entity with so many moving parts. And as any engineer knows, greater complexity always raises the risk of system failures of one kind or another. Now, with that in mind, and as someone speaking for the deans, I want to thank you for all the ways in which you've helped us do the things that have made Hofstra the great institution it is today. We've created new schools, new programs, and all of those things that have been listed. But also, and perhaps more importantly, at least for us deans, for the countless times you've guided us through the inevitable moments when things went wrong. You've always been there for your deans as a mentor and a guide. Without your experience, wisdom, and institutional knowledge, we could not have handled those issues as they came up, or more broadly, succeeded in our jobs. We've depended on you and are forever grateful. On page 86 of the virtual card, Barbara Stark described you most appropriately as the Sentinel, a true Hofstra hero. To this dean, that seems like the best way to describe you and what you've done for us. Thank you for watching out for Hofstra and for all of us, and from all of the deans again, good luck in this next chapter of your life.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly and Warren, and thank you to all the deans. I now invite the faculty leadership who have represented the faculty well and worked in a collegial and collaborative way with Herman and the Provost's office to say a few words. The faculty representatives are Bill Caniano, Chair of the Senate Executive Committee, George Giuliani, Associate Professor, Speaker of the Hofstra University Faculty, Elizabeth Plorin, President of AUP, Karen Valerius, Chair of the Chairs Caucus, Kathleen Wallace, past Chair of the Chairs Caucus. Please go ahead. You can unmute yourself, right?
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Senate and faculty of Hofstra University, I would like to present Herman, our esteemed provost, a framed copy of the minutes of the May 7th, 1990 Senate, where Herman, I believe, was his first official communication as acting provost spoke. For those of you who don't know, before Herman became a spectacular administrator, he had a long history in the Senate. If you go back into the Senate documents, as I have done, you see his name from the 70s and through the 80s. Herman Berliner is everywhere. Well, I believe Professor Rabinowitz's name appears a lot too. Thank you, Herman.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. On Monday, I had the opportunity to express my sincerest of admiration for Herman to the full faculty. So in the interest of time and deferring to other speakers, let me just say that it has truly been an honor and a privilege to have had the opportunity to work with Herman. There are so many thoughts that come to mind when I reflect on Herman, but if there's one that stands out as speaker, is that Herman was always able to develop relationships of trust and transparency while being able to inspire the people around him. Herman is outstanding at communicating clearly and directly and values listening, learning, and ultimately leading by decisive action. I will always admire Herman's skill in cultivating a cohesive university community, being effective at fair and just conflict resolution. Herman always showed tremendous empathy for those who may be affected by administrative decisions, because first and foremost, I always found Herman to be a genuinely good and kind person who sincerely cared about everyone with whom he worked. As I said at the faculty meeting on Monday, it wouldn't be possible for one person to care more about Hofstra University and its success than Herman. He embodies all that Hofstra is, can, and will be. I learned so much from Herman about calm, patient leadership, always giving everyone in meetings the opportunity to express his or her opinions in the most collegial of ways. His value system is consistently congruent with the mission of our university, and he is an advocate for the values of the mission of Hofstra. Working with Herman every week, faculty leadership often brought difficult problems and pressing concerns from the faculty to Herman. And to his credit, Herman never shied away from the tough issues, always listening and attempting to do what he thought would be best for sustaining Hofstra through the most challenging of times. My deepest of gratitude goes out to Herman for his dedication, perseverance, insights, and willingness to tackle the hard problems. So thank you, Herman. Thank you for your service to the university and personally teaching me so much about leadership and integrity at the university level. I will always be grateful to you for your wisdom, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you, George.
Hi, Herman and everyone. As the most junior member of the faculty leadership, I have had the interesting experience of arriving on campus well into Herman's established presence as provost. By the time I came onto campus, he was both a known entity to my senior colleagues and yet somehow still shrouded in mystery for many of them as to what made him tick and how he made decisions. So it was a pleasant surprise upon finding myself across the table from Herman as union president that I found him not enigmatic at all. Instead, once you get to know Herman, the two core aspects of his identity are clear. He is an economist through and through, and he values higher education fiercely. My PhD mentor had a funny quirk of saying, "That's a good idea, but you need to convince me more." And of course, it would send me back into the literature, scouring for more data and more support to convince him to do what I wanted to do. I have found many times that Herman would open a very similar door regarding union requests, saying, "I'm not convinced." And I think some people would take that as a no. But instead, what I found is if I came back armed with more data and the right data, remember, economist first, we often would find compromises that worked for both parties once I had a more fully vetted proposal. And now I think Herman understands that I come armed with data up front at this point in time. And our conversations have become more collaborative and more collegial as the years have gone on. So thank you, Herman, for your mentorship that has made me a better union president, despite technically being your adversary in that role. And it is a true testament to how much you value the faculty as the heart of the institution. I wish you well on your next transformation in life, and I hope it involves far fewer decisions and far more relaxation. Congratulations.
Good afternoon, everyone. Herman, working with you this semester as chair of Chairs Caucus has been an extraordinary learning experience. I'm grateful for the opportunity and for your graciousness and generosity. I'd like to thank you on behalf of the chairs for your many years of service to Hofstra and for your role in navigating the university through the challenges of the pandemic. We've been lucky to have someone with your experience and wisdom to lead us through uncharted waters. Given how intense last spring and summer must have been, you've certainly earned a change of pace, and I wish you a rewarding next chapter, whatever that might bring. And now Kathleen Wallace, who worked for many years as chair of Chairs Caucus, is going to say a few words.
Thank you. Maybe just a few things. What stand out for me about Herman in the long time that I've known and worked with him are two things: dedication to the well-being of Hofstra and encyclopedic knowledge, both of higher education and of Hofstra, its policies, its people, and its goals. That kind of understanding at both the micro and the macro level is essential in a provost, and Hofstra has been fortunate to have had someone like Herman. Most recently, having worked closely with Herman through spring and summer 2020, as many have alluded to already, and we grappled with complexities and challenges of the pandemic. And even when we disagreed, I can say that Herman was always prepared, listened, and rose to the occasion to address and solve whatever problems presented themselves. As faculty leadership, we often brought up thorny issues. As George has already mentioned, as chair of Chairs Caucus, I often had to present Herman with knotty and frustrating problems. In the midst of all that, he was always supportive of the faculty. Herman's calm, unflappable, as Stuart has already mentioned, demeanor, his understated sense of humor, empathy, and his ability to listen and to hear what people are proposing or criticizing, and his sheer stamina and self-discipline have been invaluable to addressing all the issues that we brought forward and to keeping the ship afloat. No mean feat. Thank you, Herman, for all that, for your support of me through the years and of the faculty, and for helping to position Hofstra well as we go forward into really uncharted territory in higher ed. I wish you all the best going forward and many enjoyable visits to the theater and other adventures that you have coming forward. Thank you again.
Thank you, Bill, George, Elizabeth, Karen, and Kathleen. I think we see some common themes coming out about Herman here. Now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Phyllis Levin, Professor of English and Hofstra's Poet in Residence, who will recite her poem, Needle in the Sky, for May Day, her 4th volume, published by Penguin Books in 2008. Phyllis.
Thank you, Maggie Abraham, for including me in this program. It's a pleasure to be part of this community, though at a distance. Initially, I wanted to choose a newer poem to read for this program honoring Herman Berliner, one from my 5th book, Mr. Memory and Other Poems, or else from the manuscript from my almost completed 6th collection. But somehow this poem, A Needle in the Sky, whose title in no way refers to the means by which a vaccine can be administered, seemed right for this occasion, alluding to all we do not know, affirming the forces, great and small, visible and invisible, that connect us as a species. Thank you, Herman, for the gift of your leadership in navigating the unknown, for staying the course with the courage nurtured and sustained by hope. A needle in the sky. There is a needle in the sky being threaded now, but the thread is blue. That is why you cannot see it threading its way. When all is said and done, it will keep sewing. As long as a tiny knot remains, as long as something whets the tip whenever the knot happens to untie, as long as the sun arouses the wind that catches the thread again, twisting an end so that it may begin. There is a needle pulling a thread through your veins, a needle pulling the sap from the root to the bowl, a thread pulling a bird to a tree, tugging your heart as soon as you believe there is nothing left. There is a glistening filament, a cold instrument making its way from once upon a time to now to tomorrow. Maybe the sun is a giant spool. Maybe the needle cannot rest until it runs out of light. Maybe a star is a random stitch unraveling. Until a needle runs out of thread, it is impossible to look into its eye.
Thank you, Phyllis. Beautiful.
Thank you, Phyllis, for sharing this moving poem that you specially selected for Herman, but one that also resonates for many of us. Thank you again. The NOAA program has been a program that Herman has been a strong advocate for, and we now have Roosevelt Smith, Director and Associate Dean of the NOAA program, share a few words. Roosevelt.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was fortunate enough to be a student in the NOAA program back in 1998. At that time, the director, Cynthia Diaz, allowed me the opportunity to meet Dr. Berliner during a barbecue for students and alumni of the NOAA program. He and I spent a few moments speaking about his love for swimming and cooking, which it happens are interests of mine as well. I remember thinking to myself, what a wonderful opportunity I had to meet the provost of Hofstra, and the fact that he and I shared similar interests. I know that my personal experience is just the tip of the iceberg, as I know others who have had similar experiences with Dr. Berliner and are also felt a similar connection. From my interactions with him as a student and later as an administrator, I noticed that Dr. Berliner cares very deeply about people. Some of the consequences of people's work fizzle out for a short time and leave us quickly. But other consequences are huge, lasting, and cannot be undone. I believe that Dr. Berliner's legacy that this is Dr. Berliner's legacy. There are far too many great positive consequences of things that he has done to undo them. And for years to come, this institution will continue to thrive because of his work. On behalf of the NOAA program's current students and the hundreds of NOAA alumni, we'd like to thank Dr. Berliner for his unwavering support and leadership for decades. His dedication and tireless work towards creating a welcoming environment for all students has provided the opportunity for a transformative educational experience for the NOAA scholars. So congratulations, Dr. Berliner.
Thank you, Roosevelt.
Thank you, Roosevelt. Now, most of us know Athleen Collins, who's often in the backstage working out and doing organizational logistics for some of the most successful events and conferences. She's also known Herman for many years and has something to share. Athleen?
Uh-oh.
Hello, Dr. Berliner.
Hi, Athleen.
I first met Dr. Berliner when he was interim dean of the School of Education many years ago. Since then, we have worked with each other in several capacities. Him giving greetings on behalf of the university at conference openings and dinners, as conference director and co-director of 4 conferences, including the most memorable, Chocolate, Food of the Gods. Now, we all know Dr. Berliner loves chocolate. On the Diversity Task Force, as well as a direct report for the Hofstra Cultural Center. Dr. Berliner has always been supportive of the Hofstra Cultural Center, and we have been very appreciative for his guidance and leadership. Without further delay, I share with you a brief overview of Dr. Berliner's impact at the university. Hope you enjoy.
Wow, thank you.
Thanks, Athleen, for taking us down memory lane. Wow, that was amazing. Now, students are very much the soul of a university, and they are our future, as Herman often says. So now let me turn to Royston Coppinger, Professor and Chair of Drama and Dance, for a special surprise.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Margaret and Terry Godlove for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful celebration. There's not much I can add to the accolades that have been expressed for Herman so far, except to point out that he's been a steadfast and tireless supporter of the arts at Hofstra, and everyone's lives who's taught or studied in our department has been made better by Herman's work. Particularly during the pandemic, it's been a great pleasure and privilege to work under Herman's guidance. This is just a small thanks from my department. I also want to just recognize our faculty and staff, Arthur Solari, Jennifer Hart, Carrie Prep, and Craig Coyle for putting this together. Thank you very much, Herman. We heard from a little bird that this was your favorite musical.
Hello, Dr. Berliner. My name is Erica Fletcher, and I am a graduating senior in the Department of Drama and Dance. I'd like to thank you for your support of the arts. Questions and answers that somehow seem wrong. In my life, there are times when I catch in the silence the sigh of a faraway song, and it sings in a world that I long to see out of reach, just a whisper away, waiting for me. Does he know I'm alive? Do I know if he's real? Does he see what I see? Does he feel what I feel? In my life, I'm no longer alone. Now the love of my life is so near. Find me now, find me here. Does he know I'm alive? Do I know if he's real? Does he see what I see? Does he feel what I feel? In my life, I'm no longer alone. Now the love of my life is so near. Find me now, find me here.
Wow. Erica, thank you. And Les Mis is my favorite, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Erica. Now we have another musical for you, performance.
Hi, my name is Christopher Ho, and in a few weeks I will be graduating Hofstra with a BFA in Theatrical Arts with a concentration in performance. Thank you so much for contributing to making my Hofstra education an amazing experience, and I will leave with many, many happy memories. There's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain goes on and on. Empty chairs at empty tables. Now my friends are dead and gone. Here they talked of revolution. Here it was they lit the flame. Here they sang about tomorrow, and tomorrow never came. From the table in the corner, they could see a world reborn, and they spoke with voices ringing, and I can hear them now, the very words that they had sung became their last communion on this lonely barricade at dawn. Oh, my friends, forgive me that I live and you are gone. There's a grief that can't be spoken. There's a pain goes on and on. Phantom faces at the window, phantom shadows on the floor, empty chairs at empty tables, where my friends will sing no more. Oh, my friends, don't ask me what your sacrifice was for. Empty chairs at empty tables, where my friends will sing no more.
Thank you, Christopher. Outstanding. And I look forward to seeing both Erica and Christopher on Broadway. They're clearly that good.
Thank you, Erica and Christopher. Thank you, Royston, Terry, Arthur, Jennifer, and the team. Yes, Herman, you've taken the words out of my mouth. We know exactly what you're going to be doing. You're going to be watching for them on Broadway and the performing arts in the future. We now have some representatives from the Provost's office saying a few words. And yes, Herman, much against your wishes, we would like to present you with some gifts from all of us. We hope you and your family enjoy them. We're going to start with Maura. Maura.
Okay. So by now, Herman, you probably have received an email of our electronic group card, and in it, from all of us, we give our sentiments to you. Here's from all of us. It was a card that was created. I stole the idea from Roger Ferguson from TIAA Craft when I thought of it and said, this is what I'd like to do for Herman. And in it, you would find all of the sentiments that have already been shared, Herman. So many of them. It's actually not 102, it's about 130 pages now, and about 285 entries of exactly how we hold you in such really high esteem. Here's just a few of them. Steady support, encouragement through my decades at Hofstra. Everybody's wishing you very restful days. Warm pools, good chocolate, few worries, and lots of Broadway shows. We've
Definitely.
all had extreme pleasure in working with you, and we are all very grateful for that experience, Herman. Again, you'll get a chance to read all of this at your leisure. It was sent to you via an email, but we are turning it into a book to commemorate this day for you. And I hope you enjoy reading it.
Thank you, Maura. It's been a pleasure. You know that.
Thank you, Maura. I'm going to now share with you the other members of the Provost's office who are going to speak. Joyce Pizarro, and then Vice Provost Alfreda Blue, Vice Provost Stavros Valenti, Vice Provost Sophia Kakalidis, and then I will follow. All right, Joyce.
I am proud to say a few words at your special virtual event to honor and thank you for the many years of service at Hofstra University. Since being employed in the Provost's office, since the year 2000, I have had a few positions in the office. Coming from the HCLAS Dean's office, I transferred to the Provost office first as a secretary, then changed to an administrative assistant position, then for the past 11 years as the academic coordinator for budget and planning. I guess that says a lot about the office, as I never wanted to leave. It has been a pleasure to have worked under your leadership. As busy as you always were, you always have been extremely approachable and willing to make time to answer questions that we may have. I looked up a famous quote when I was asked to do this, so I found one by the very famous Winnie the Pooh that speaks volumes. How lucky I am having something that makes saying goodbye so hard. Thank you, and I wish you many, many years of good health and happiness.
Thank you, Joyce.
For your listening pleasure, we know how much you love Broadway shows, so we have put together some memorabilia from one of your favorites, The Sound of Music. The original playbill, the original ticket from the 1960s, and an original Broadway cast CD. We hope music continues to fill your life with happiness.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Joyce. Alfreda. Now we have Alfreda Blue, Vice Provost.
Herman, it's been a pleasure working with you. You know, I met you as a faculty member more than a decade ago, and that was long before coming here to this office. And through the years, I've always seen you as an advocate for faculty and students. If I were describing to you all who Herman is from my eyes, I think that he's always been a faculty member first. And it's been great to just learn from him and to work with him. I just want to tell you what I think about him and what I've observed about him. And that means Herman seeks every opportunity to support students as they reach for their aspirations. He, like I said, is a faculty member first, so he takes his faculty lenses into every meeting, every decision. He's always teaching, he's always thinking about what students need. And it seems that his guiding principle from my perspective is doing what is in the best interest of the student, the faculty, the various schools on campus, and the entire university. When I transitioned here in this office, he and I discussed how higher education might change, and we weren't sure about the specifics, but he was ready to forge ahead. And we didn't know that a pandemic was on the radar or all of this remote learning. But it's been my privilege to work with you, Herman, and to watch you work as you guided the entire Hofstra University through a pandemic, through a summer of unrest. And it seems even now, as we're trying to transition back into the university as in-person learning, it seems that we still are very appreciative of your guidance. Just like Elizabeth said, Herman is an economist. He sees everything as an economist. And I've learned a lot about him as I learn more about economy and the economist perspective. I see he's a leader. He manages, he reviews, he's an active participant in our day-to-day activities in the offices. He weighs on issues, he thinks about challenges, and he really does make informed decisions. So my thought here is that he does his best to be available, even when he doesn't have any time. He listens as he walks. He even though he might be thinking about something else, he stops and thinks and listens and responds to every challenge that people bring to him, especially me. So I want to thank you, Herman, for this opportunity to work with you, to learn from you. And as we prepare for this fall semester even, you know, Barack Obama said, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the change. And I think that you have been a guiding force in that whole idea of change. You, Herman, have been the change. And I really do thank you for what you have done. One of the gifts that I am presenting is this one-year gift subscription to the Gift of the Arts through Marquee Television. I hope this is something that you and your family will enjoy.
Thank you very much, Alfreda, and thank you for the tie that I'm wearing today as well. I'm properly dressed for the occasion, thanks to Alfreda. So thank you.
Thank you, Alfreda. We next have Stavros.
Stavros, you have to unmute yourself. You should get an alert.
There we go.
There you go.
Again, hello, Herman. I once heard a provost say, maybe it was you, that a provost job is equal parts plumbing and poetry.
Was me.
What I had imagined, however, was plumbing and drama, lots of drama. What I found in your office instead was a leader's steady hand, thoughtful suggestions, and dedication. You can imagine my disappointment. To correct this anomaly, the Provost Office thanks you with this gift, a digital subscription to British theater. Yes, more Zoom, sorry about that. But you will be happy to know that these subscriptions were selected from the Senior Administration Package, Theater of the Absurd. But in all seriousness, thank you, Herman, for everything. I've enjoyed working here and you've meant a lot to me.
Thank you, Stavros.
Thank you, Stavros. Sophia is next.
Hi, everyone. So as wow, it's hold on. As some of you may know, Herman hired me 27 years ago, and for the record, I was 12 years old when he hired me. And besides,
doesn't that violate a law of some sort?
No, never mind.
Okay.
And besides Herman, I think I'm officially the longest serving employee or survivor in the provost's office. But all kidding aside, Herman, I want to take this opportunity to formally acknowledge on behalf of the Office for Research and Sponsor Programs that it has truly been a pleasure to work with you, to learn from you. And I'm extremely grateful for all your support and leadership throughout the years. More specifically, these past 2 years, working with Maggie Abraham and our ORSP team, we've enjoyed working together and we truly appreciate your invaluable support as we work through the most challenging times that I can remember throughout my years in the Provost's office. I'll go on to say one of the many things I admire, and it has been said about you, and will always remember about you, is your ability to always remain calm, no matter how stressful the situation. I can vividly recall, numerous occasions when we would walk out of some intense meetings together and you would remain so calm and I was, let's just say, not calm at all. And your advice to me would always be, take a deep breath, step back, and try not to overreact, Sophia. I will say I try my best to take your sound advice, Herman, although it's quite challenging for me at times. And as I have reminded you during some of those very intense moments, I'm Greek and I just can't stay calm. Nonetheless, your level-headedness has always been a constant and something I will always strive to replicate. I promise, I'll try. Another thing I admire about you, of course, is your love of chocolate. I will definitely miss the dark chocolates that always filled the clear jar on your desk and which I would conveniently position myself next to and frequently reach for every time I came into your office, if you were in your office or not. Anyway, and of course, I will miss all the different types of chocolate, mostly dark chocolate with at least 90% cocoa, of course, since they have the most health benefits, that you picked up during your travels to different countries and you would share with all of us in the Provost's office. And so from one chocoholic to another, I salute you, Herman, and I wish you many blessings as you begin this new chapter in your life. And last but not least, we would also like to present you with a dinner certificate for you and your family as part of the theater experience. Enjoy every minute of this new chapter, Herman. We will all miss you.
Thank you, Sophia.
Thank you, Sophia.
Much appreciated.
Now, Herman, we know you have a dreidel collection. And so the Provost's office would like to present you with this hand-painted blue and gold Limoges dreidel. These are the colors of Hofstra for your dreidel collection. Thank you from each and every member of this Provost office and for being a mentor to so many of us.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Wow, thank you very much.
Okay, so now we understand and we know and we've heard it throughout from the beginning to the end that you love chocolate and that you miss the delicious chocolate chip cookies served at in-person events.
Definitely.
I, of course, many years ago made the mistake of seeing everybody who was eating these cookies, and I began eating quite a few too. I didn't realize all of you then went swimming. So instead of a toast with champagne, all of us here would like to toast you with a huge chocolate chip cookie, freshly baked from Hofstra's dining services just for you. They say it is your favorite.
All right, my afternoon snack.
So please, everyone, join me as I toast Herman. So Charles Schulz, the American cartoonist, says, and I quote, "In life, it's not where you go, it's who you travel with." Thank you, Herman, for your leadership, your collegiality, your humor, care, and commitment to Hofstra University. For us, it has been a pleasure traveling with you, and thank you for making the journey a really great ride. Congratulations. And I'm holding up the chocolate. All of us here have chocolate.
For a few minutes.
Thank you, Maggie.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Herman.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Herman.
Congratulations.
Well done, Herman.
Congratulations, Herman.
Congratulations.
We'll miss you, everybody.
Congratulations.
Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to cut anybody off. 1 second, Herman, I just have to unmute you. You should get an alert.
Muted.
There you go.
Wow, I may need something stronger than chocolate at this point. So thank you, everyone. Really, just enormously appreciative and touched by all the comments and good wishes. So I actually was thinking back to just before I started at Hofstra, and I had completed my PhD and I'd gotten the job opportunity at Hofstra, and as was the tradition at that point in time, before you leave for your job, that the person who heads the doctoral program or your dissertation advisor sits you down and gives you some of the voice of experience advice on what you should do and what you shouldn't do, and how you will succeed at the position you're going to. So the executive officer of the economics program at the CUNY Graduate Center was Edwin P. Rubens, Ned Rubens. And he sat me down and he said, I won't forget the conversation, Herman, normally when I talk to our graduates about to leave for their job, I just remind them that when they get to the institution they're going to, you should be active, you should be involved, you should be engaged, and that's terribly important in addition to your teaching and meeting with students and working on your scholarship. Said, Herman, in your case, the advice I'm giving you is don't be active, don't be involved, just stay in your office, do your teaching, do your scholarship, and meet with students. Now to give you some background, the background was as an undergrad, I was very active in student government. And as a doctoral student, I was busy agitating. So as an undergrad, I was pushing for course and teacher evaluations and really we'll remember any number of classic conversations. The person who headed engineering at City College at the time, I said, you know, we really have to have evaluations of the faculty. And he said just very quickly, well, that'll be over my dead body. That was, I thought, a very warm response to the suggestion. In the Graduate Center, I felt that really the students and their best interest wasn't always taken into consideration, and that we really could do better in terms of a doctoral program and being supportive of students. So I went to the president of the CUNY Graduate School, Mina Reese, the person who ultimately inducted us into Phi Beta Kappa, said we really need a student faculty committee that will work with the executive director of the program. You can imagine how well that was received by Ned Rubens, the executive officer of the program. I got the committee, however. And so you understand the reason for his advice. And I took him seriously. I arrived at Hofstra. I taught my classes. I worked on my scholarship. I met with students. I stayed in my office, which I shared with 3 other full-time faculty and countless adjuncts on the 3rd floor of Roosevelt Hall. And I was miserable. I was at Hofstra for a month. I was absolutely miserable. I was ready really to say, okay, let's see, something has to give. This just isn't working. And thankfully, the person who chaired the department at that point in time, Jake Weissman, came up and just started a conversation, said, Herman, is there something wrong? I said, no, there's nothing wrong. Am I doing okay? Said, we hired you because of how active you were. We thought you were a really good fit with the department, but you don't seem to be anything like what we were told you were going to be. And that's all I needed. First of all, economics was a wonderful department in that regard. Very active and involved with the university, tremendous university service, great group of faculty, great commitment to students. That was really all I needed. Jake Weissman saying that. And at that point in time, I was off and running with any number of programs that I was involved in. I just want to touch on a few of them because there really are some memorable ones. I got to work with Harold Euchre on the original course and teacher program. Harold, who was a former provost, was an incredible inspiration to everyone on campus. Harold was tracked, discriminated against, dealing with, he was a person with a disability, cerebral palsy. He wasn't even supposed to go to college, and yet he succeeded wildly going through college, graduate school, nationally known scholar on attitudes toward these individuals with disabilities. What an honor to work with him. And I was working with him on CTRs. That was something I was interested in as an undergrad. And here I was getting a chance to work on it, as a faculty member. So that was actually a memorable experience for me. Memorial Day weekend, 1980. An accreditation report for AACSB, the Business School Accreditation, was presented by the dean's office to the provost's office. In 1980, I was an associate provost. There was only one problem with this reaccreditation report. It didn't respond to any of the questions. It didn't address any of the AACSB standards. and it may be the worst document ever written. If not, it's close. And so when the key faculty in the school had a chance to read it, when I had a chance to read it, we were all horrified. And we actually spent the entire Memorial Day weekend in the president's conference room rewriting the accreditation report. And even though we only spent a long weekend doing it, it was so much better than what was written originally. The original report submitted to AACSB was a legend at AACSB for at least a decade as the worst report ever presented by any university. And it took us a considerable amount of time to turn the situation around. We turned it around well, but wow, what a challenge. And then there was the strike in 1988, the 12-day faculty strike. What a terrible experience. I was an administrator. We had picket lines. We had all sorts of bad feelings. So really two things I want to talk about. I was not part of the 1988 negotiations, but I was part of early negotiations. I had the distinguished position of being a chair filler. A chair filler is somebody who sits on their side of the negotiating table, tries to look engaged and intelligent. I did the best I could. But what I saw in even the earlier negotiations was this incredible posturing that took place. What a waste of time, what a tremendous waste of time. And then if you just looked at what the original offer was from one side and the original ask from the other side, and thought about it for a while, you could come up with very close to what the solution would be and what the agreement would be. And yet you had all this incredible posturing and the chances for things going wrong. And in 1988, boy, did they go wrong, and to the great detriment of the university. I became acting provost in '89, provost in 1990, and was given the responsibility of heading the negotiating team. We started negotiating a year early. We concluded the negotiations 3 months early. We communicated, there was a minimal amount of posturing, and the result was a contract that was a win-win and good for the university. And I think set the tone for succeeding negotiations, where always the negotiations are concluded successfully and before the end of a contract. I want to give a special shout out to Sylvia G. Lombardo, who worked with me on that negotiation, and Jerry Delameter and Estelle Gelman, who headed the AAUP. It was a turning point in the university. We were really coming back from an incredibly bad situation. I got to work on the creation of the Salzman Center, the community services center that united all our clinics and got them to work together, where before they really never even recognized that each other existed, and also started childcare. But I want to reflect on a conversation regarding childcare. So I'm in the provost's office, and a whole delegation of parents from childcare are insistent on talking to me immediately. Okay, there must be a real emergency going on. Let them all come over and let's talk. So they come in and they say, we have a very serious issue that we'd like to talk to you about. So, well, what's so serious? How can I help? Well, we need to start by asking your philosophy on, my philosophy on what? Potty training. We would like to know your philosophy of potty training, and then we would like to talk about how potty training takes place at the Salzman Center. I had no kids at the time, and the only thing I could say to them, but maybe it helped in the moment, is I believe in it, because what else can you say? And as a result, I think we had a good conversation and tried to work through exactly what they were trying to deal with. Ethelene talked about the conference on chocolate, food of the gods. Not only did we have Andrew Weil talking about the psychological impact of chocolate, we had a lead author from the New England Journal of Medicine talking about the impact on your heart of chocolate. We had a leading dental researcher talking about chocolate and tooth decay. And these were my favorites, a performance of the Chocolate Soldier operetta, and an all-chocolate banquet. Now, my love of chocolate is well known. What isn't as well known is why I would ever propose a chocolate conference. I didn't propose it. I was dared to do it. I was dared by Jim Sheward to run, you like chocolate so much, run a chocolate conference. And he said it once, and he said it twice, and he kept saying it. And I finally said, okay, we're going to run a chocolate conference. Boy, did I have a good time doing that. That was terrific. Just a very memorable time. What no one mentioned and was also memorable is all these graduations where I listened to our previous alma mater, which really wasn't even original. And so Stuart proposed, and we all were enthusiastic about having a competition open to everyone in terms of a new alma mater for the university. And the alma mater we now have is so much better. I had the pleasure of working on every detail of the new business school building. What a thrill. From the ground up, from the first meeting, I worked on every detail. Not exactly every detail. There was one detail that I was never allowed to work on. Anything related to color. I'm seriously colorblind. And when it came time for the color discussions, those were the ones, well, Herman, you really don't have to be part of this. But what a spectacular building and what a great experience. Establishing a dual degree program with Dongbei University in Dalian, China, to have an opportunity for our students to do an internship in China, to earn a degree from a Chinese university, and our degree, a unique program. China even changed the law, making it harder for Chinese universities to enter into these types of agreements. So we have a unique dual degree program. I'm enormously proud of that. I'm enormously proud of 40 years with the NOAA program, but I'm proud of the university. We were the template for the HEOP program, the Higher Education Opportunity Program for New York State. That was Hofstra, and I think that really indicates Hofstra's values loud and clear. Working on the Student Managed Investment Fund, just a great experience. Working on a new class schedule, and we had this class schedule where the classes didn't even align, and being able to propose, 2 common hours, just, an incredible experience. I have written the tenure and promotion recommendations for 90% of our faculty, 90% of the faculty. That's the privilege you have when you're in the provost's office for 28 years and a dean for countless years before it, in the middle of that. What a terrific faculty we have, and I know it firsthand. I've gone through all the CTRs, I've gone through all the scholarships, I've gone through all the paperwork. We can be enormously proud of our faculty. They are incredibly accomplished. It is a real privilege for me to present the candidates for tenure. And then working together with everyone on our response to COVID-19. What a difficult, difficult situation. And yet we've gone through it beautifully. We've handled it as well as a situation like that could be handled. We're still in person with some of our classes. We have the hybrids. We have the remote. So many institutions took the easy way out. Everything was virtual. We didn't take the easy way out. We tried to do what made the most sense and really gave the best experience for our students. Even in commencements coming up, you look at the list of all these schools, NYU, St. John's, you look at all the schools in the New York area, the majority are remote for commencement. We are in person for our commencement, 5 separate ceremonies with guests. We've taken the most difficult path, but we owe it to our students, and I'm glad we've done that. And I'm so glad to have been a part of all of that, really. It's been my pleasure. I want to thank and also say to Stuart how much I appreciate his outstanding leadership over this past 20 years as president and his 50 years at the university. His vision, drive, and commitment to excellence has served the university extremely well. I want to say what a strong group of senior VPs we have. They're exceptionally smart, hardworking. We're well served by them. I will note they can be chops busters at certain moments in time, but they are that outstanding that being a little bit of a chops buster is okay. We have a great group of deans and a great group of vice presidents. We have a terrific faculty governance team. Karen, George, Bill, Elizabeth, Kathleen. The faculty could not ask for a better leadership team. These are all the strongest advocates for the faculty. It's a pleasure for me to work with them. I learn from them continuously. I work in a terrific, terrific office. The provost's office is a wonderful group of people. They do exceptional work. Every one of them just a tremendous asset to the university. You know, I want to give a special thank you to Maura, because not only does she do the very heavy workload that goes along with her position in the provost's office, but she's been a key person in the search for a new president, working through all the logistics. She's a key support person in the transition to a new provost. Thank you very much. I want to just say thank you again to Maggie for agreeing to come to the office for these 2 years. I actually said to her beforehand, look at all the things we are going to be able to do in terms of moving the university forward. And then shortly thereafter, we have a pandemic, and we're just working so hard to hold on and maintain stability. All the other offices on campus, the faculty are the heart of the institution, but the administrators, the staff, the trades, public safety, all of them are key to the experience and education we provide to our students. And we do such a good job in general. I've been provost twice, and actually, to be correct, I've been dean 3 times, 80 to 82, 83 to 89, and 2015 to 2019. It is such an honor for me to have held these positions. I'm so thankful again for the opportunity. I started working in higher ed because I loved economics and I loved teaching. I entered college not knowing what I would major in. I thought I would be a psychology major, an engineering major, a philosophy major, and all the courses were good, but nothing really, brought out the passion for the field. And then I started taking economics courses as an undergraduate at City College, 15 courses, everything I could possibly fit into the program. So 45 credits undergrad, another 66 credits graduate. That passion is still there. The passion in teaching is still there. At a key fork in the road, when I was finishing my PhD and deciding what to do, I said no to being a commodities trader, because I was bidding on silver and gold even for a major brokerage firm, and said, no, I want to teach. I think the passion for the teaching, the love of economics is still there. Looking ahead, my wife and I will travel more. I've been saying that to her for years. Now I'm going to do it. And our family will visit Hawaii more. I also intend to teach courses in economics and in higher ed. These courses will not be scheduled on Wednesdays, which will be devoted to seeing Broadway shows, both a matinee and an evening performance. I am very, very happy that the curtain is rising on the next chapter of my life. I intend to continue having a good time. I'll always be part of the Hofstra family, and I thank you all very much. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Herman. Thank you to everyone who's been attending. Can we unmute everybody for one applause from all of us? Thank you once again. Thank you, Annette and family too. And thank you to all who made this event possible.
Thank you. Thank you, Herman.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Herman.
Thank you, Herman.
Thank you, Herman.
Thank you, Herman.
Congratulations, Herman.
Congratulations, Herman.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
See you around.